strategies that were shown on this map. This Widow strat was previewed in Apex Season 2, I believe. I can't remember exactly if it was Meta Athena or Runaway or some other team. I can't exactly remember who it was. I remember it was in Apex though. They did this, and then it's kind of like been like an off strategy where sometimes some teams will do it, but in this meta it seems like Mercy is able to just sit up here with the Widow and just pocket them. So it makes it really hard to attack, and I think Dallas knew exactly that they were going to do this, and they planned around it because they had triple tank here and they had an Orisa. You don't normally attack with an Orisa. They do a really good job of this attack. You play barriers and you play safe and you wait to push. I'm not the biggest fan of Effect being up here, but I think it's just to cause pressure where he's literally just looking to give his team room to look over here, and he's looking to get the Widow to actually look at him, who's not behind a barrier, rather than everyone else who's on the point. And you can see here through the wall, Chips is actually just inside the mini room, and he's just pocketing his tanks. He's in no threat right here because they actually have to drop through Dallas Fueled his teammates to actually get to him. So Effect's just setting up a crossfire here, just pressuring these tanks, and then the Seoul defense kind of just falls apart because once they're actually into the point, it's really hard to actually retake because you just don't have the damage, and you have people in this position where it's hard to pressure them, and Effect just baits Zumba so hard here. They just fall apart. Miro just is forced to fall, and then he just has to sit inside his shield, and he can't really do much. Fleta just tried to like grapple out of there and then like set up a flank, but all of his teammates were already dead, so they just have to swap everything. Taimu made the swap to Reaper, so I think Zumba wanted to make a play there on someone. Let's see who actually he dove. He dove way too aggressively, of course, but I think it was probably someone on his team telling him like, oh yeah, he tried to dive the Mercy. They were probably like, all right, we have to dive the Mercy this fight, otherwise we're just gonna get snowballed, and so he just had to go for it. They weren't able to do it, and then Effect just pops off. From right here, you thought like Dallas was just unstoppable, like they were gonna win this shit all day long. But they really start to taper off after this. Koreans are so good at adapting mid-series and like mid-game to like your attacks, and Assault has got to be one of the best game types for them because of how much you can adapt. Skipping forward here. So Dallas doesn't actually adapt here much. They keep running this strat every single time they play defense on this map. I should probably full screen this. They kept running this Orisa, who was sitting right here, and then Harry, who was actually standing like basically with them, where I think they need to set up crossfires with this comp and actually play a little bit further back, or be just like poke initially and then walk back. Because if the team's ever running dive against you, you'll see what happens. There's nowhere for the Orisa to go. She has to walk slowly back as her team's getting dove. So like this is good. They like land poke and they're getting pressured. But Soul sees the shield and they just like heal up and wait to dive before the shield's down. The shield's down. Now all of Dallas is out of position. Like they have an Orisa and they're not set up properly to hide behind him. And so the team just gets picked apart by Genji. Helps that Fleta doesn't really like miss any shurikens in this fight either, but He was getting chased right here, but I mean, they've lost so much pressure on the point that like everyone's just starting to like fall. They're just getting pressured off the point, and you have to touch, and like the whole offense is just set up staring at this corner, shooting at them. They do a good job of actually holding in this corner. I think Miro dies. Like he plays too aggressively and he dies, but oh, he kills him with the mine. That's right. Oh, okay. Oh no, I thought he killed him with the mine there. Huh. They set back up in this spot, but at least they have people like behind now. Like Harry's on high ground. Before he was on the low ground, so if they ever got dove, like he was just in an awful position. Now he's actually able to fall and like change his position mid team fight. The problem Dallas also has is they don't have any defensive ults, so no trance or beat or anything. So if a blade ever comes in like it did, they have no counter to it really. And you can kind of see that it just all fell over. Like once they got dove, there wasn't really anything they could do. Like they could try to pop Valk and like play super safe, but the Junkrat doesn't really have anywhere to go. Neither does the Orisa. They have such an ult advantage here. I would have liked to have seen them use ults proactively. They do like a good job of actually killing Miro here, but I would have liked them to have used ults way more proactively here and not waited for them to be all on the point where Fleta can actually be resetting on them with the Genji. You want to get them at the gate where if they lose someone early, they'll be more inclined to reset, and then that gives you another rotation of like being able to poke them and heal, and they kind of let them walk in, and then they started using ults. It's a really hard call to make, to be fair, but I mean, I think they had to in that case. They go for this same defense strat. I don't like Harry being here. I feel like they get pressured too hard. I'd rather him be set up like top left and have like a crossfire setup, so as soon as they do dive, he's actually able to just rain down on them. If that Soul just needs to like survive this initial poke and then actually just heal up. Yeah, the problem they have is like they don't have anywhere to go on Dallas' side as soon as they do get dove. Like Effect is the only one who's able to actually like grapple out. Taimu can like mine away, but I mean like where can he go really? I don't like them being set up here really at all, because it leads them to getting dove really hard. You see right here, Harry literally has nowhere to go, so he just gets mowed down. They trade for Fleta, but they kind of just like reset the fight a bit and just have like one person dive the Widow. Chips needs to have the soldier with him to actually heal him. He doesn't have any other healing source for himself, so like if he's ever in a position where he needs to go and heal someone, he's just out in the open. So yeah, I would have liked them to see them adapt that second point, because they literally just played defense again, and then sit up in a different position where they aren't as exposed with their comp. Just forcing them off high ground. Dallas, they had like such a poor first fight that they literally just had to ult dump. It's the same thing that happened last time. They just had to ult dump to actually try to hold the point. I don't know why Time is stuck on Junkrat. I would have rather him play like an actual stall hero. But you can see how they adapt. Dynasty actually got a faster offense that time. Because they figured out like what Dallas was doing and they just planned around it. And Dallas didn't change like at all. You can see Seoul switch their defense. Like they were using the Widow the first time and then they changed to like plan B. They started to run dive on defense. Well, Dallas ran the same thing that they ran on offense. I mean, it worked for them, but this composition doesn't work as well against actual dive. It's better against the Widow. Once they see this different comp, I think they all rush to the point like they did before. They did this before where they had Effect play in the Mega Room, and then he was like trying to counter their Widow, and then the people on the point were just rushing to point and just hide on the point. But against dive, I think as soon as they see the dive, they need to walk back to spawn and actually switch their comp because it's just not going to work. I don't know how Seoul threw this, to be honest. Like, this should have been like 100% a one fight for them. It's actually puzzling because I think Dallas actually misplayed here. Like, they're setting up a crossfire and they're doing a lot of damage to chips. Okay, they're in a good spot. Zumba loses his Mac. Okay, Effect hits a headshot. Okay. Okay, so it would have been a normal trade where Zumba just trades for chips, but I mean that's in favor of Seoul. But then Effect hits a headshot. Where's Miro? Okay, Fleta was diving Effect, and then Taimu just killed Munchkin. Seems like Seoul was just stalling here. Like Toby and Jae-Hung were just trying to play safe. It seemed like Seoul was playing like a split defense, like they weren't all on the same page. I think when you play dive, you really have to dive with all of your units, and then it seemed like they had a wrong assignments for. They had Fleta go to the Widow, and he ended up killing the Widow. But it seemed like, besides that, they didn't really plan around all the people being on the point. Seems like Fleta was assigned to dealing with the Widow every time. You can see Chips is just playing back with him a lot of times. He just walks to the point. He's playing like the middle ground. He's playing on bridge a lot where he's just playing safe. And then if Effect ever gets dove, he's just back to him immediately. They did such good job of stalling here. Seoul did. Sending the correct people in at the right times is such a hard thing to decide, like in the moment, like especially when you're on stage. But I think it starts to denigrate right here. Like they ran the same thing again, like Dallas. I know this is probably like their most practiced strategy that they brought out on this map, but I really don't like it. Because Seoul has adapted to it. They aren't running the Widow like they were before. They're running just dive now. They did a bit better of a job not having everyone stacked behind the Widow, or behind the Orisa this fight. But they're taking a lot of damage, so Seoul didn't get like a really successful dive off. But you can see in this comp, there's not enough healing when people aren't in like a good position. So like, the Mercy has to play aggressive here, and she has to like zip around the team fights to get health. And like, when you're in this position over here, it makes you super diveable. Where playing right here, you're LOSing the Widow, so you're in your optimal position for Seoul's case. And then I think we wanted. I would rather have Effect standing up here, Taimu playing up here near the Mega and actually putting pressure, like if anyone comes up through Mega, because the tanks usually go to the Mega. And then having Harry like either back further or like over here or somewhere, but like he's on the stairs and he isn't having like his most impactful like location because it's causing Chips to actually have to like go down onto these stairs to heal people. Yeah, I don't like the setup as much. Seoul before in the other situations, they were just looking for like these really insanely fast dives where they would like insta punish people, but you can see right here they're actually feeding ult charge to the supports and like actually trying to build ults up a little bit because they know they're going to have the advantage over Dallas. So you can see they're playing slow to get in here. They're getting healing down, they're baiting ults, and then they're looking for the dive. Dallas did a good job of feeding Taimu's EMP though. But I think this is where Dallas goes for like a really aggressive EMP play and they don't end up following it up correctly. Yeah, you can see right here. It goes really, really wrong for them, so Taimu threw his translocator back on the Mega or whatever. And they walk up here, so look at all the people who are in. There's XQC, Effect, Taimu. They're all in here. Effect gets random triple shurikened in the back, and he has to recall. So he doesn't end up using his EMP, but this leaves like his entire team out in the open here. And they haven't had enough time to actually build their ults up, so they end up just getting really hard punished. Where it probably would have been better for him to EMP in that moment. I mean, Jae-Hong also did an excellent job of just popping trance in that moment where he thought he was going to get EMP'd, and it forced them to actually just like recall. But they had just used all their cooldowns to actually get into the fight, so there was no way for them to actually do anything. They were out in the middle of nowhere, and they didn't have an EMP as an advantage in the fight, so they kind of just got picked off. They just get staggered killed here. Like there's nothing much more they can do. Seoul had the ult advantage. They did pretty good of like feeding EMP mold mid fight. That Sombra error actually was like a really big deal. See, they swap up their comp again, make them guess what they're actually playing. They know what to do with this comp. I think, yeah, they actually made an adaptation, rather. They have Munchkin playing Tracer this time. I can't remember what he was playing before, but might have been Genji, might have been Soldier, might have been Tracer. But they made an adaptation at least of where his location was, so they knew the last two times they had an attack, effect went up here and was actually just causing a crossfire up on the top of the point, which was splitting their focus of where they actually wanted to be shooting people. So like as the Orisa, you want to like just be shooting people like in front of you. So like had a crossfire set up on the high ground with effect over here, people down here, maybe someone over here shooting all up on the shield. So it would just like cause them to not be able to look at all the spots they wanted to look at. Where this time I think Munchkin sat up here and waited for effect to show, and then he just wins the 1v1 against him. Because effect is on his own up there, like they sent him alone each time. Then Fleta did his thing where he grappled up onto their side, so he could just set up this, like, usually you want your defense. You want your defense to have, like, some member contesting the person up here, where Fleta was standing, like, up on the little arches. But, like, if you have someone, or you have someone on defense contesting someone on the offense. Because their Widow played in this spot over here, Fleta was able to grapple up here with no contest on him at all. So once Mickey was dead, like it's only Effect and Mickey that can contest him, so he's able to grapple up there and be uncontested. You can see just the sightline he gets on the point. Confused with what Dallas actually was wanting to do that push. Seems like they ran in and then kind of just ran away. I'm not sure if they were trying to get a cooldown out and then just tried to run away, but oh, Fleta is so smart. He knows where Effect's gonna go. Fleta just keeps setting up this flank, and there's nowhere for Dallas to go. They have to have someone on the point. It's just super awkward for Dallas to walk anywhere. They have to be on the point to contest, and then that just means that they can either get shot in the back by Munchkin or just have Fleta shooting the shield in the front. If the shield ever falls, then they just have to tuck into the point and they aren't capping. Munchkin was just behind them the whole time, shooting them in the back. I think Dallas looks their worst when Taimu is forced to play Soldier. It's pretty apparent. This team doesn't really even have a Genji player. I guess like Siegel, but forcing Effect to have to play Genji is like pretty weird. But again, someone has to do it in this comp. They're getting staggered all day. They have to get a full reset in. Chip spots a Belk early just so he can not be as contested. Yeah, Fleta grappled over there and he didn't get really a good angle on the point, so he has to kind of drop and like walk around for a bit. And it gave Effect time to actually get some cleanup kills here. Effect had to put the steam on his fucking back, dude. Having to force him to play Genji to actually win maps is pretty painful. I don't know how good Siegel's Genji still is, but this team like not having a good like solid tier Genji Tracer combo just makes it really hard for them to do like these really aggressive compositions when they need to. Taimu struggles right here. He can't even kill this Lucio. You can watch Taimu struggling here, dude. He's standing on the point. He doesn't need to be standing on the point. He needs to be standing like further on the bridge. Because he just keeps getting people point blank shooting him. And then his teammates had to keep protecting him, and I feel like he just could have been in a better position. It was a really good map. Like there was a lot of like changes from both teams. Dallas isn't as flexible though. Like they can't make the same changes that Seoul can make. There's not really a Genji player on their team to actually make the changes. Watch map 3 now.